Hey there, this is Clay with modernlove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not, because I firmly believe that you deserve to be loved for the person that you are. And if you agree with me, do me a favor by liking this video and by subscribing to this channel if you're not already subscribed. I know we're a little bit early today. Something came up and I'm going to need to take off from the office here a little bit earlier, but I wanted to get the live stream in, so I'm getting that in, I don't know, what is it, like 20, 30 minutes early? So sorry if that's an inconvenience for you guys. But also, I wanted to let you know that tomorrow I'm going to be making a major announcement about both private one-on-one coaching and also the group coaching interactive course that I've been kind of putting together with you guys, with your feedback, with your support, with your encouragement over the past couple of weeks. So once again, I wanted to thank you for all of the comments and messages that you've been giving me. But I also wanted to let you know that we're going to be making an announcement about that. If you are interested in either the individual coaching or the group coaching, please make sure you're on the interest list. There's a link to that down below in the description for this video. It's also on the pinned comment in the comment section, so definitely check that out. But today we're talking about why your ex is so resentful towards you after a breakup, especially if it's, not like you did anything like super awful to at least warrant that level of resentment, at least in your opinion. So there's really three things that could be going on, at least in my mind. And all of them have like a similar thread in common in terms of what you might want to do moving forward. So we're going to be talking about them, and we're going to be talking about that similar thread about what to do if your ex is experiencing a high level of resentment towards you. So the first thing that could be causing your ex to resent you is this social behavior law you can call the law of consistency, which says that we tend to act with consistency towards our previous behaviors. So your ex, for example, has broken up with you, and so they're going to act with consistency towards you as somebody who has broken up with you, which means that, based off of their own beliefs, their own thoughts, their own perceptions of, how you're supposed to act towards an ex, they're going to probably act in a way that might be bitter, angry, cruel, mean, things of that nature towards you. And even if you haven't actually done anything to deserve this level of treatment, they may need to distort and twist their recollection of how things happened or how things didn't happen in order to really back up their decision to break up with you. So they may have to invent things that weren't there. They may have to exaggerate things that you did or didn't do in order to create an image of you in their mind that was worthy of breaking up with, okay? And so because of this, your ex is going to be placing this extra layer of distorted resentment on top of you. Now, if you want to be able to navigate around this, you have to understand that this is happening because your ex is viewing you through the lens of their ex. And if you can start to shift away from being their ex, they can start to entertain seeing you in a new light, in a new possibility. So, for example, one of the things that people often do following a breakup is that they try desperately to avoid being in the friend zone. And I've talked about this in other videos, but you really don't need to worry about the friend zone between you and your ex. I'm not going to go into that in this video. There are many other videos on this channel about that. But oftentimes people will try to make sure their ex doesn't put them in the friend zone by focusing on the attraction, focusing on being romantic, focusing on making sure their ex sees them within the context of a relationship. But what they don't often realize is that by keeping this focus in the romantic world, their ex sees them as their ex. And so they are falling into this distortion of their ex placing this resentment on them through manufactured, exaggerated, distorted, or deleted details from the past in the relationship. That's the first reason why your ex might resent you. The second reason why your ex might resent you is obviously because they could be holding on to hurt or pain or baggage about things that maybe you said or did or didn't say or didn't do before, during, or after the breakup, right? It's no surprise that breakups can be heated, intense events in people's lives, and people can sometimes do or say things that maybe they regret later on. Even if it's like before the breakup, and maybe you just, I don't know, broke a promise or something, and that's what caused your ex to break up with you. There's a lot of emotions that go on here, and so your ex could very well be holding on to these emotions from the breakup because they haven't had the opportunity to work through those feelings. They haven't had the opportunity to clear those feelings out. And as long as your ex is holding on to these feelings, they're going to, feelings of hurt, feelings of frustration, feelings of anger, and all of that. These feelings can start to kind of like rot. And as they rot, they turn from feelings of anger, frustration, or whatever into feelings of resentment. Usually resentment is something that people have towards an ex that has happened a very long, long time ago, right? Like, sure, you can have resentment towards an ex that's new and fresh, but when somebody has been broken up for a long time, either they've gotten over it, they're okay with things, however they may have turned out with their ex, maybe it was not optimal, but they've moved past it, or they just hold on to that resentment because all of those emotions have rotted and turned into resentment over time. You meet these people that have been like divorced for, I don't know, like 20 years or something, and they're like, I can't believe that, whenever they hear some sort of news about their ex, or whenever they run into them at the supermarket, or whenever they see them out on a date with somebody or something like that. And that's what's going on, is that they are holding on to this resentment because underneath it there's some sort of pain, some sort of unresolved hurt that they have never looked at. So resentment often hides unresolved emotional issues. And if you want to clear those out in order to have a better connection, a better bond with your ex, then what you need to do is understand that this is all coming from your ex's emotions, which of course are coming from the story that your ex is telling themselves about what happened in the relationship, what happened in the breakup, and all of that. And once you start to change the story behind something, that's when the emotional impact of it starts to change. Super common cliche example is, let's say you're driving down the street and some car cuts you off in traffic and you're like really pissed off. You're like, how could that guy be driving so erratically? How could they do that? And then you turn the corner and you see that same car has pulled into the emergency room of the hospital down the street. And then suddenly you see that they're like taking some friend into the emergency room who's been injured in some way. And then suddenly your emotional state changes to one of empathy, compassion. Suddenly you're like, yeah, I can totally understand why they were driving that way. It was an emergency. They had to get that person to the emergency room. And the same sort of thing can happen when you start to shift the emotional story underneath things that happen. So your ex probably is attached to a certain emotional story about what happened or what didn't happen in your relationship that is causing them to see you as the bad guy, the one who's wearing all black, right? And so you want to start to help your ex get past these emotions by starting to recontextualize their story, their impression of what happened. And this isn't a matter of saying like, oh, your story's right, their story's wrong, their story's right, your story's wrong, or anything like that, because everybody's story is, everybody has their own subjective experience of reality, and nobody's story is going to be objectively 100% true. Everybody paints their story with their own emotions, and those emotions start to obviously turn into things that could potentially turn into resentment. But if you start to get new information about things that happened in the past, it can really start to change your story and change your emotional state. So, taking this back to your ex, you want to apologize for anything that you did wrong that you genuinely feel bad about, but not just the, hey, I'm sorry I cheated on you kind of thing, but you also want to explain to them what was going on your end, such as something like, hey, I was really caught up in work, I was like out of touch with myself, I wasn't even thinking about you, I was only thinking about myself, and this was the best way that I could think of handling the stress. Or I didn't tell you the truth because honestly I didn't want to hurt your feelings, and I didn't tell you the truth because I just didn't know how to tell you the truth without hurting your feelings, or something like that, right? And as soon as you can start to tell them that sort of stuff, it can start to recontextualize the story beneath the surface as to why they broke up with you, the feelings that they're having, and all of that stuff. Now, obviously, I just kind of breezed through a few examples. They probably did not come across as very genuine or heartfelt, but you want to actually express these to your ex in a way that's heartfelt, that's genuine, that's not just some guy on YouTube blathering out an example to try and illustrate something. But you actually want to put your emotions in it, put your feeling in it, put your heart into it, so that so that your ex understands where you're coming from, what your experiences were, and what your motives were for doing what you did, for saying what you did. Also, obviously apologize. Also, obviously reflect back to your ex how you imagine that your actions made them feel. All the stuff that we've talked about in other videos as well too. And that's a good way to start. Now, the third way, or third reason that your ex might be feeling resentment towards you is because they are seeing that you have changed your behavior, changed how you're bringing yourself to the interaction, changed how you are showing up in a relationship and all of that stuff. And they like it, but they're like, what? I wasn't worth it back when we were together. Only now, after we break up, are you deciding to change? Why is it happening now? How come not the 100 times that I asked you to change, to get your act together before we broke up? And again, this is, you got to understand this is coming from a story that they have in their own mind about what's going on, why this is happening, why this isn't happening, and all of that stuff. And you want to recontextualize that story because they're stuck to this story of, hey, you didn't think that I was worth changing. And now that we're broken up, you finally are getting your act together, you're finally changing, you're finally fixing, your anger issue or whatever it might be. What's wrong? Wasn't I worth it? And as long as that's the story that they're going to hold on to, then obviously that's a perfect ground for resentment to grow. That's a perfect environment for resentment to build up. But if you can start to recontextualize the story underneath it, that is when your ex can start to let go of those feelings of resentment, let go of those feelings of hurt before they become resentment, and so on and so forth. And so what you might want to do is you can say, yeah, I can totally understand why it would have come across to you like that. But the truth is that the breakup was really a wake-up call for me. I didn't really realize how big of an issue it was until you actually broke up with me. And that was really kind of the splash of cold water that I needed to say, hey, how am I living my life? Hey, how am I showing up? Hey, how am I actually impacting other people, especially the people that are important to me? And as long as you are able to communicate something like that, then that can recontextualize the story such that your ex doesn't really hold on to that resentment. Okay, now obviously this is once again an example. Don't just use the exact words that I use, but apply specific things to your situation, adapt this to your situation, use your own words, use your own language, and all of that stuff. But yeah, those are the 3 reasons why your ex might be resentful for you and how you can go about navigating through those. Anyway, once again, thanks so much for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed. It looks like we don't have any comments today, probably because I'm live streaming earlier than normal, unexpectedly, but that's okay. Go ahead and post your comments in the comments section down below this video, and I will keep an eye on that. And once again, if you want to be a part of our group coaching experience or be a private coaching client of mine, please definitely go check out that interest list down below and make sure that you are on it because we're going to be sending out an update about that tomorrow on Saturday. Anyway, take